Assalamu alaikum everyone, this is teacher Maryam Bokaidi and welcome to my grammar lesson today, passive voice. I need you now to look at this picture and try to read the sentence. The boy eats the apple. The apple is eaten by the boy. Now what's the difference between the two sentences? You may have noticed that the boy changes its place. The apple too, as well as the verb.
The first sentence is called the active voice. The second is passive voice.
Okay, now let's read another sentence. The boy broke the window. Now the window was broken. The man will buy the car. Can you guess? Yes, the car will be bought by the man. The plant has eaten the man. Now, the man has been eaten by the plant. Ahmed had pushed Ali. Now, Ali had been pushed by Ahmed. The dog is licking the boy. Now the boy is being licked by the dog. The boy was writing the letter. The letter was being written. Now, as we can see, the difference between the two sentences are called active and passive forms. The active form is when we start with a subject, verb, and object. The subject is the boy, the verb is broke, and the object is the window. Because the focus is on the subject, the doer of the action, the person who performs the action expressed in the verb. While the passive voice, the focus is not on the subject, but on the action or the object which was acted upon. See? Here the focus is on the subject, that's why we start with the subject. But here the focus is on the object, that's why we start with the object, and the action is more important. Now the window was broken by the boy. We may omit this sentence. So subject, object becomes subject, verb, and the subject becomes an object, or it is dropped. Now the form of the passive, we have the subject plus verb to be in the tense of the active verb plus past participle. Let's look at the example here. The boy eats the apple. Where is the subject? It's here. And eats is the verb. Now when we change it into the passive form, it becomes is eaten, right? Is the verb to be in the tense of the active verb, and eaten is the past participle of this verb, eat. Now we need the verb to be most in this lesson. The verb to be in all tenses. Let's start with the verb to be in the simple present. I am, you are, he is, she is, it is, etc. The present continuous tense of the verb to be is I am being, you are being, he is being, she is being, etc. The present perfect tense is have been or has been. The past simple is was and were. The past continuous is was or were being, right? Here is being, here was being. The past perfect, here the present perfect have been, has been. The past perfect is had been. The future tense will be. With modals, can be, would be, should be, maybe, must be, could be. Just the modal plus be, because be takes the infinitive. As we know, after modals, we have the infinitive. Now, when do we use the passive voice? This is a very important question. Look at this example then. The house has been cleaned. Is it necessary to mention the person who has cleaned the house? Not really. So, the house has been cleaned is very important to know that the house is now clean and that the action is done. That's why we use the passive voice when it is not necessary to mention the doer of the action. Women's condition have been improved recently. Now, do we know who has improved the women's condition? We don't know. That's why we use the passive voice when we don't know or have forgotten who did the action. Now this example, many medals were awarded Moroccan women athletes. Now when we are interested in the action rather than the person who does it, right? That's why we use the passive voice. It's not important, the subject is not important, that's why we use it in the passive voice. Now look at this cute sentence. The vase has been broken. Maybe your little brother or someone broke the vase and does not want to take responsibility of doing so. So he may come to you and say, the vase has been broken. Means he doesn't know, or means he wants to remove his responsibility. When the speaker declaims responsibility for disagreeable announcement. Here are some examples of using the passive voice in all tenses. Mary makes tea. The passive becomes tea is made by Mary. So we start with the object, we change the subject, and the verb takes two forms. It takes the verb to be in its tense, in its present, and this verb takes the past participle, right? Let's go. Mary is making tea. This is the present continuous. So, tea is being made by Mary. Now, you may pause the video, think about it, and then play so we can find the correction. Mary made tea. This is the past simple. So, tea was made by Mary. Made. Yes. Mary was making tea. So, tea was being made by Mary. Mary has made tea. It becomes tea has been made by Mary. Mary will make tea becomes tea will be made by Mary. Mary should make tea becomes tea should be made by Mary. Mary must make tea becomes tea must be made by Mary. Mary has to make tea. Yeah, tea has to be made by Mary. Here with modals. Now, can you put the verbs in brackets into the correct passive form? Shampoo, test on animals before it, sell in shops. So these sentences are in the passive voice, so you need to put these verbs in the passive form. Right, so shampoo is tested on animals before it is sold. The house built in the 19th century. The house was built, that's the past, was built in the 19th century. Two missing children find safe and well. Have been found safe and well. A new bridge constructed will be constructed next year. Now we have the tenses. Let's put the verbs in the tense in the correct form. My car was damaged last night. This computer make in the US, present, is made, right? The machine make in Scotland, present simple, is made, right? The president killed last night, past simple, was killed. The money changed into dollars at the bank, present simple, is changed. Easy exercise that I would like to share with you. Now, can you detect passive from active voices? 1. They made a big snowman. This is the active voice. The letter was written. Now, this is the passive voice. The table was laid by her. That's the passive voice. These pupils wrote on the blackboard. That is the active voice. His room was cleaned. The passive voice. The watermelon was eaten. That's also passive voice. Artem wrote an exercise. This is the active. He drank a cup of tea. Active. The book was read yesterday. Passive. She washed the floor. Active. The cake was baked last night. Passive. Mary painted a nice picture. Active. They tidied their room. Active. The blackboard was cleaned by Tom. Passive. He ate a tasty apple. This is the active voice. The tree was planted by me. That's the passive. Uncle Sam watered the flower. Active. The car was washed last week. Passive. The film was watched by her. Passive. My sister read an interesting book. Active. Now, if you can differ between the active and the passive voice, you can also change from active to passive voice, or you can change from passive to active voice, as we're going to see. Guys, passive to active. Romeo and Juliet was written by Shakespeare. So who is the subject? Shakespeare. And where is the verb? The verb, right, in the past. Because here we have the verb to be in the past. So, Shakespeare wrote Romeo and Juliet. Mr. Douglas was questioned by the police. So this is the subject. Mr. Douglas, that's the object, was questioned. That's the verb. So the verb to question in the past. The police questioned Mr. Douglas. Perfect. 200 people were being invited to my wedding. So, who invited? My wedding. So I invited 200 people to my wedding. The bomb was being carried by them. So, they were carrying the bomb. The children had been told about the party. Who told them? Maybe I told them about the party. Students are expected not to talk during the examination. Teachers expect students not to talk during the examination. Okay, that is it for today. Thank you very much for your attention. Keep doing exercises, stay at home, and all the best.